Hi, scholars, and happy Tuesday. Like I said yesterday, we are starting our new module, Module 6, Lesson 1 today. You do not have a packet this week for these lessons, so I really want you to get some plain paper and a pencil to follow along today. So if you don't have that, pause the video now and make sure to go grab that. So first, our objective is I can solve, compare with, difference unknown problem types. So we've talked a little bit about this in previous modules. When the difference is unknown, think about what we're going to use to solve. So we're going to read this story problem together. Rose wrote 8 letters to her friends. Her goal is to write 12 letters. How many more letters does she need to write to meet her goal? We are going to use a tape diagram to solve how many more letters Rose needs to write. You may also use linking cubes on this website that I linked in the description below if you need that to help. So what I want you to do is to solve using a tape diagram on your paper. I'm going to give you a couple minutes and put some music on while you work to solve. Just make sure your tape diagram has the 2 boxes, like 2 rectangles, connected to show your 2 parts, and then your 2 lines above to show where your total is, like we had in our review lesson yesterday. Make sure you have labels, everything you need in your tape diagram. I'll give you about 30 more seconds. Try your best. About 10 more seconds. All right, that's your timer, and I'm going to show you what mine looked like. So like you can see on mine, I drew a rectangle around 8 circles to show how many letters Rose already wrote. Then I drew a rectangle with a question mark because we need to find out how many more letters she needs to write. Then I put my arms from the first part to the end of the second part because I knew that she wants to write 12 letters. So that was her total at that top. On the right hand side, you can see I have 8 plus 4 equals 12. So my answer was she needs to write 4 more letters to meet her goal. What is one thing that I forgot to do in my drawing? I labeled, but I missed letters under my labels. We're going to talk a little bit about what's important to label and what's okay to leave out. So we will get to that later in the lesson, but this is how my answer looked for this one. So now I'm showing, a model of the story using linking cubes. So you're going to watch as I use these cubes to draw my tape diagram only using numbers. So I'm not going to use circles in there anymore. I'm only going to put numbers in my tape diagram. So I want to go back and read the first sentence of my story problem. So you can see at the top starts with Rose. Our first sentence says, Rose wrote 8 letters to her friends. Well, I'm looking at my cubes, and I know that she wrote 8 letters to her friends. So I'm going to draw a tape diagram and label it to represent that first sentence. So Rose wrote 8 letters to her friends. I have a rectangle. I put my letter R for Rose, but I'm not done. I want this to represent the letters Rose wrote. So what number should I write inside? Looking at my cues, I'm using my model to help me. What number, looking at what my arrow is pointing to, what number do I need to write inside? Good. We need to write the number 8 inside. Now we're going to read the next sentence, which I put in, it's in bold letters so we can really see it. It says, her goal is to write 12 letters. Is that a part of how many letters she wants to write, or is it the total letters she wants to write? The total. So that means there are some more letters Rose needs to write. We just don't know how many more yet. So I'm going to draw another part and put a question mark and label it M so you can see what I'm talking about. So now I have my new rectangle with the question mark, the letter M for more, and we just don't know how many that is yet. But I'm pointing to where in my model with my cubes that is referring to. So these two parts make up the total of how many letters again? What did we figure out her total was? Good, we figured out it was 12. 12 letters was her total. What addition sentence helps us find the missing part? What addition sentence helps us find the missing part? 8 plus blank equals 12, and you could have put a box for our unknown. We don't know what that is yet, but 8 plus blank equals 12 because we don't know one of our parts. But now I want to push you. What is the subtraction number sentence to find the missing part? I did the addition. What would be a subtraction sentence to find the missing part? "12 minus 8 equals 4. So how many more letters does Rose need to write? What will go in place of that question mark? How many more letters does Rose need to write? Good, 4 letters. Give yourselves a pat on the back if you were able to follow along with me. I know it's hard to do this on a YouTube video, but good job. So that's how we use a tape diagram to solve our first problem. Now we're going to do a new problem. So let's read another story problem together. Starting at Rose. Rose wrote 8 letters. Nikhil wrote 12 letters. How many more letters did Nikhil write than Rose? So since I don't have a partner here and this was going to be a partner job, I am using one color to make a stick of how many letters Rose wrote. I'm then going to use a different color to make a stick to show the number of letters Nikhil wrote. I'm going to lay the 2 sticks down on top of my personal whiteboard so we can compare them easily. I'm going to put my cubes side by side so they're easy to compare. And after I did that, it looked like this. So I have one stick of cubes at the top and one right below it, and I lined up my endpoints so I can compare them easily. This stick represents whose letters? Whose letters? Rose's letters. So I put an R, like you can see I put an R next to my stick of cubes to show that they're Rose's letters. Now my arrow is pointing to the other stick of cubes, so this stick represents whose letters? Good, Nikhil's letters. So you're going to watch me as I use these cubes to help me draw my tape diagram to compare the number of letters Rose and Nikhil wrote. How many letters did Rose write? Looking at our problem, 8 letters. Rose wrote 8 letters. I kept my R to the side, I have my rectangle, and I just put an 8 in the middle. I don't want to draw circles anymore. I want to just write the number so I can see it real quick and move on. Now we're going to think. How many letters did Nikhil write? I'm putting an N under the R, just like it looks like with my cubes. That's how my tape diagram is going to look today. So how many letters did Nikhil write? 12 letters. Will his tape part of the diagram, or his part, will it be longer or shorter than Rose's tape? Looking at Rose's, she had wrote 8 letters. Nikhil wrote 12. So will his rectangle be longer or shorter than Rose's? Good, it's going to be longer. So my rectangle for Nikhil, longer. So again, what number goes with this tape? 12. The question says, how many more letters did Nikhil write than Rose? Well, I know that Rose wrote 8, and I can see it in my tape diagram, and Nikhil's big rectangle is 12, but I'm trying to figure out how many more letters did Nikhil write than Rose? This tape represents 8. So this much of Nikhil's tape is also 8. This part of Nikhil's tape represents how many letters he wrote. This part represents how many more than Rose Nikhil wrote. So the first one I point to is the 8. That's the same as Rose. But the box that doesn't have anything in it yet, that's how many more he wrote, and we don't know yet. But again, what is the total number of letters Nikhil wrote? 12 letters. What is the part of Nikhil's letters that are the same number as Rose's letters? Good, 8 letters. Looking at my question mark, how many more letters did Nikhil write than Rose? What can we do to figure out the unknown part? I want you to think. What can we do to figure out the unknown part? We can look at our cubes and see how they're lined up. We can count what's the extra cubes in the orange stick or Nikhil stick. So you can count on. If we know that Rose wrote 8 and we count on 4 more, we can get to 12. So then we know there were 4 more letters that Nikhil wrote. You could think about it as 8 plus unknown equals 12 and know that it's 4. Or you can use subtraction. You can take away 8 from 12 and get 4. So if we count on 4 more from 8, we are adding 8 plus 4 equals 12. Just like that. So 8 plus 4 equals 12. If we cover up the 8 to see how many more letters he wrote, that is the same thing as taking away 8 from what? Taking away 8 from 12. What is 12 minus 8? 4. So how many more letters did Nikhil write? 4 letters. I want you to see that we can use subtraction to compare the number of letters Rose and Nikhil wrote. Who wrote fewer letters? Rose. How do you know? We know because the tape diagram is shorter than Nikhil's. We know that Nikhil wrote more, so Rose had to have written fewer. How many fewer letters did Rose write than Nikhil? And how do you know? We know that she wrote 4 fewer because using our subtraction sentence and the tape diagrams, we can see that she would need 4 more to match the same amount Nikhil wrote. We can think about it as 8 is 4 less than 12. We can think that Nikhil wrote 4 more letters, so Rose wrote 4 fewer letters. Or you can just use an addition or subtraction problem to solve. This part is the same length as Nikhil's extra 4 letters, that box up there that I drew next to Rose's. So I want you to think about it. If I draw that imaginary box right there, how many more she would need to have the same amount? And it's 4. Now it's your turn to show me what you know. When we do tape diagrams, we read the word problem, we draw a tape diagram or double tape diagram and label, we write a number, sentence, and a statement that matches the story, RDW. Next to that, you can see an example of a double tape diagram, which is what we just did today. It's a very easy way to solve. So I want you to try your best to try to use a double tape diagram, but if you think a tape diagram is easier for you, that is just fine as well. I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to give you some time to do each problem. Number 1 says, Peter has 3 goats living on his farm. Julio has 9 goats living on his farm. How many more goats does Julio have than Peter? I'm giving you 2 minutes. If you need more time, you can always pause the video. Your timer has started. timer went off. I'm going to go over the answers in the next video. So you're just going to do the rest, and then I'm going to ask a quick question, and then that'll be it. But you'll wait till tomorrow to see your answers. We're not going to go over them now. Number 2 says Willie picked 16 apples in the orchard. Emmy picked 10 apples in the orchard. How many more apples did Willie pick than Emmy? I'm going to read it again. Willie picked 16 apples in the orchard. Emmy picked 10 apples in the orchard. How many more apples did Willie pick than Emmy? Your 2 minutes is starting. Try your best. Make sure to draw, label, try a double tape diagram, write your number sentence out in your answer. That's your timer. We're going on to number 3. Number 3 says Lee collected 13 eggs from the hens in the barn. Ben collected 18 eggs from the hens in the barn. How many fewer eggs did Lee collect than Ben? I'm going to say it again. Lee collected 13 eggs from the hens in the barn. Ben collected 18 eggs from the hens in the barn. How many less eggs did Lee collect than Ben? Your timer is starting. All right, your timer went off. We're going to number 4. Number 4 says Shanika did 14 cartwheels during recess. Kim did 20 cartwheels. How many more cartwheels did Kim do than Shanika? Use your double tape diagram to solve. You have 2 minutes. All right, that's it for the work you have to do. The last question I want to ask you, though, is when 2 tape diagrams are arranged one above the other, like the ones we use today, we call that a double tape diagram. How does setting up our 2 tapes this way help you compare more easily? When you have one part at the top and the other part at the bottom, it was easier for us to see who has more or who has less. It helps us compare to see if we want to use subtraction or addition or counting on, how we want to solve. So the double tape diagram is very, very helpful and a good new strategy for us to use. I hope you guys have a wonderful day or wonderful night, whatever time you're watching this at, and I will be posting a new one tomorrow.